What if Vader knew Leia Organa was his daughter? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Before we get into the story, shout out to our newest Sith Lords, Stephen Balkovec, Melly Kruger, and Sith Lord 906. Reva Sevander screams as Darth Vader stands over her, channeling the Force to probe into her mind. She already knows what he is searching for, and tries to resist, shaking her head, but it's like facing a tidal wave. Slowly, her willpower begins to break, and she begins to crumble under the onslaught.
I ask you again, who is the girl Obi-Wan was with?
I won't tell you.
Perhaps not willingly, but you will break eventually.
His fist tightens, and she screams out, throwing her head back. After a few more minutes, the former Inquisitor breaks. She reveals the identity of Leia Skywalker. Although she cannot see it, Darth Vader is shocked by the revelation and wonders how this can be. But he has little time to ponder on this. He swiftly beheads Reva and returns to Coruscant. Although they have long suspected that Leia Organa was helping the rebellion, the extent of his betrayal was surprising. However, he knows that Palpatine will never attack him openly, preferring to keep his friends close and his enemies closer. Vader cannot sit still, though, as the thoughts of his daughter, perhaps the only living relative he has out there. He begins plotting to get her. He contacts Leia Organa for a meeting.
Lord Vader, I didn't expect to hear from you.
Senator Organa, I have learned of the recent incident involving your daughter. I wish to say that I am concerned about her safety. For the family of an Imperial Senator to be taken is a troubling sign.
It was an unfortunate event, but Leia is safe now. She is well guarded here.
Safe? Under the protection of the guards who allowed her to be taken in the first place. It would be wise to place Leia under my protection. I assure you, no one would dare take the princess under my watch.
That is a most generous offer. However, given her status, it might be best to consult with the Chancellor before making any such arrangements.
I think you misunderstand, Senator. This is not a matter for the Chancellor. I have an interest in the girl's future. She will be safer under Imperial care as an honored guest. This is not up for debate.
With all due respect, Lord Vader, what you describe sounds closer to a hostage than a guest.
Such a bold claim is unusual, Senator. Why would we require a hostage from you, unless you've been doing something worth such a precaution? I certainly would not wish to have to investigate Alderaan.
Bale feels his arm trembling angrily as he stares at Vader, the anger clear in his eyes. Reluctantly, Bale agrees to these terms and makes the arrangements to send Leia to Mustafar, where Vader will train her. He tells the little girl only that she must go away and serve her people. This does little to satisfy the girl, especially once she meets Vader, whose stoic, intense attitude only annoys her. However, it soon becomes her turn to annoy Vader, despite orders for her to remain in her chambers. He finds her constantly defying him, hiding in the castle, sneaking out of her room, and exploring forbidden areas. The young princess refuses to accept her fate. While she doesn't fully understand why she is there, she understands that Vader intends to keep her from her home, so she attempts to escape. During one such attempt, the princess waits until the middle of the night and creeps out just as the castle is asleep. She makes her way down to the main gate, but as she prepares to open the door, the shadow shifts and Vader appears before her. Even without his lightsaber, he makes for an intimidating sight. His black armor makes him appear more machine than man, while the shadow grows larger as he steps closer. Despite herself, Leia stands tall and glares up at him.
I will not let you keep me here.
Vader stares down at her, feeling the fear within her, but she hides it well. He has to admit he's impressed by her bravery.
Oh, and what were you planning once you got out? Steal my ship? Learn how to pilot it? and somehow learn where Alderaan is.
Better than staying with you.
Are you so quick to run back to your gilded cage? One that has already been breached.
It won't happen again. They did everything they could to rescue me.
If that was their best effort, I shudder to think what their second best is. Or perhaps it is because they do not try very hard at all.
Without warning, Vader reaches for his holodisk and holds it up for Leia. It shows Reva, who confesses everything, admitting she tried to steal Leia and found out she was Anakin Skywalker's daughter. When the hologram fades, Leia is shaking her head furiously, while tears sting her eyes.
Such your feelings. You know it to be true. I am your father.
No. It isn't true. That's impossible.
But as Leia takes a deep breath, she looks deep within her emotions, feeling for a lie. But to her horror, she doesn't find a lie, and looks up to her captor. Vader kneels and stares at her.
I feel your uncertainty, but do not think of this as an end of your family, but the start of something new. Senator Organa is teaching you to become a leader. I can do the same. I can give you the power to bend those to your will, and to become a far greater leader to your people.
Leia falls to her knees, sobbing and gripping the ground. But with surprising tenderness, Vader scoops her up and carries her to bed. This time, she makes no further attempts to escape, and when morning comes, she arrives with an announcement. She is ready to be trained. The Dark Lord wastes no time in taking his daughter under his wing. He begins by teaching her about the Force and senses the great power within her. The fiery world of Mustafar makes an ideal environment, as its harshness toughens up Leia, who learns to ignore the pain and discomfort of the planet's intense heat to channel the Force. They start small, but Leia grows to become an exceptional Force user. She is eager to learn and always pushes herself to her limits to the point of recklessness. When she becomes old enough, Vader provides Leia with her lightsaber, teaching her everything he knows about fighting with it. He teaches her to be relentless and aggressive during combat, offering no mercy to her foes and giving them no quarter. Vader also provides Leia with Reva's old Inquisitor armor, but rather than have her join the Order, he keeps his daughter back as his assassin, sending her out to deal with Vader's enemies, whether they be rebel cells or even rival Imperials. Soon, Leia racks up a kill count in the dozens. This doesn't escape the notice of the Emperor or Obi-Wan. The Emperor has his suspicions, but allows Vader to act as he waits to see what will happen next, instead of trying to direct this assassin to kill some of his enemies. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan and Bail Organa grow worried at this development. If Vader suspects Leia is his daughter, they worry whether he will learn about Luke. To that end, Obi-Wan decides to make the difficult decision to train Luke himself. He takes Luke from Tatooine to avoid Imperial suspicion and trains him in secret. Bail helps them by providing shelter for them in various rebel holdings. There, Luke learns to not only use the Force and a lightsaber, but also to help the rebellion. The two find themselves running various missions, whether they include funding rebellions, smuggling supplies, helping refugees escape, or attacking Imperial garrisons. While they are careful to avoid Luke being too obvious with his abilities, rumors soon begin to spread about a young Jedi. The only thing that stops them from being discovered is Bail Organa, who uses all his connections to keep them one step ahead of the Emperor. But the results pay off as Luke develops into a powerful Jedi. When he isn't leading from the ground, Luke is on his starfighter, carving a path of destruction across the Imperial TIE fighters. It is no surprise that Luke is asked to take part in one of the most important battles, the Battle of Scarif. Hearing Rogue One's appearance on Scarif spurs the Rebel Alliance into action, deploying their fleet to support the ground team. Among these troops is Red Squadron, including Luke. The X-Wings streak through space as swarms of TIE fighters try to halt their advance. Despite being badly outnumbered, Luke's piloting skills take down dozens of enemy starfighters, helping the Red Squadron hold the Imperials at bay just as the Death Star plans are transmitted to the Rebel fleet. The news brings cheers across Luke's comms as Red Squadron prepares to buy time for an evacuation of the rebels on the surface. However, these plans are cut off by something emerging from hyperspace. Suddenly, their cheers die on their lips as something appears over the horizon of Scarif. It's the size of a small moon, but it's something else. A battle station. A beam of green energy shoots from its primary weapon. In a second, the entire Imperial facility on the planet's surface is obliterated, leaving no chance for evacuations. Instead, new orders are sounded for the fleet to evacuate, but many ships are cut off by the arrival of Death Squadron. The massive Star Destroyer fires upon Admiral Radiss's ship, the Profundity. The rest of Red Squadron evacuates. Luke is ordered to help protect the crew as they download the plans. By the time Luke lands on the ship, several Imperial shuttles are already approaching. He leaps out of his X-Wing just as one of the Imperial shuttles touches down nearby. From the steps, Leia approaches, her lightsaber ready as she crosses the hangar bay. Luke quickly blocks her path and readies his lightsaber. "You're not going anywhere."
Surrender the data. You're outmatched.
Luke ignites his blue lightsaber, but as the two circle each other, they feel a strange familiarity with one another. Their eyes narrow as neither one can explain it. It tugs at the back of their minds. "Who are you? And why do I feel like I know you?"
I don't owe you an explanation, even if I knew. But I do owe you this.
She lunges forward and unleashes a flurry of strikes. The movements are precise and calculated to probe Luke's defenses. However, she is still faster than any of Luke's previous foes and goes on the defensive to block her attacks. As they run their course, Luke strikes back, his movements quick and instinctive. He seems to find where each attack hits and blocks them. Leia is surprised to see how well this young Jedi is fighting, sensing something different in Luke. As she tries to press forward in a series of relentless attacks, Luke ducks underneath and throws a vicious kick that sends her sprawling back. Rather than back down, Leia looks up, her eyes burning in fury. The resolve in her eyes takes Luke off guard. Leia takes advantage of this and advances, swinging her lightsaber and forcing Luke to duck under attacks, and then parries. As their lightsabers lock in place, the pair glare at one another. For a moment, they can only stare at one another and marvel at how similar they seem. But as they fight, Luke feels his comlink buzzing just as he receives a report saying that they have the data on the Tantive 4. Glancing at Leia, he sidesteps her swipe and hurls a crate at her. Although she slices it apart, this distraction is enough for Luke to break off and hurry to the docking tube where the Tantive 4 is waiting. By the time she arrives, the door has been sealed shut and the ship flies off. She turns back to report this to Darth Vader. He's surprised to hear how Leia struggled against the Jedi.
He was probably one of the most skilled opponents I ever faced, Master. He was well trained and skilled in the Force. There's something else about it. He seemed familiar.
Vader considers this and dismisses Leia. The fact that he also escaped on an Alderaan ship only raises more questions. He begins to wonder whether Bail has been hiding information from him. As he prepares to confront him, Palpatine catches wind of this development through his spies on Death Squadron. Rather than let Vader find this Jedi, he decides to cut his investigation short. Aboard the Death Star, Grand Moff Tarkin is ordered to deal with the situation.
The evidence we've gathered implicates Alderaan. Multiple ships were spotted on Scarif, aiding the rebels. The Emperor has seen enough, Lord Vader. A demonstration of our new weapon is overdue, and Alderaan shall serve as our target.
No! You can't do this. Alderaan is a peaceful world. Surely destroying an entire planet for the actions of a few is too—
The Emperor believes that a message must be sent, and Alderaan is the perfect example.
Vader's breathing fills the silence. He studies Leia, and then his attention to Tarkin. There's a flicker of something beneath his mask.
You overstepped, Grand Moff. I did not authorize this attack. Let me speak to the Emperor.
You forget your place, Lord Vader. The Emperor has given me authority over this battle station. If I deem it necessary—
Before he can finish, Vader raises a hand, and Tarkin's smirk twists into a grimace. Leia gasps, watching Tarkin struggles, clawing at his throat.
No. You overstep yourself, Grand Moff. You are unfit to handle this situation, and you shall pay for your insolence.
With a final squeeze, Tarkin collapses to the floor, lifeless. Leia stares in shock as Vader lowers his hand, turning to the officers nearby.
We are taking command. The Emperor will know nothing of this. Yet, lock down the hangars and communications. Tell the officers here that I am taking command, and they have a choice. Choose me, or choose Tarkin.
He turns to Leia.
Come. We have no time to lose. The Empire is no longer our ally.
Leia hesitates, but follows Vader, leaving Tarkin's body behind. She realizes that the destruction of her homeworld has only been narrowly averted. They will need allies, quickly.
Lord Vader. Father. Thank you.
Speak nothing of this. Alderaan's destruction is one of the Empire's ploys. He is trying to halt our investigation. Inform Captain Piet that he is in command until further notice. In the meantime, we will speak with the good Senator Organa.
The two descend onto the surface and meet with Bail. Unsurprisingly, the Senator denies his involvement in the Rebel Alliance.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Lord Vader. I am loyal to the Empire and its people.
You think I would risk everything to save Alderaan only to be lied to? I defied the Empire for your world. Don't waste my time with denials.
Bail's face falls, realizing the weight of the situation. He glances at the armored figure beside Vader. Although her face is covered now, he recognizes his daughter and takes a long pause.
All right. Yes, I've been aiding the rebellion. We believe the Empire's tyranny must be opposed, even if it costs us everything.
You helped steal the Death Star plans. Know that the Death Star is under my control, but not for long. We are outnumbered, and Palpatine will not take this betrayal lightly. We need allies, and we need them now.
And what do you intend to do with that weapon? The minute that you fire that weapon, you will turn the galaxy against you. Our best solution is to expose the Emperor's plan and reveal his intention to destroy Alderaan.
Very well. We will present the Death Star to the public. The fear it will instill could make the Empire's grip crumble. But this must be done quickly.
As the details fall into place, Leia steps away, allowing Bail and Vader a moment of privacy. Bail watches Vader carefully before speaking.
I have to ask, Vader. Why this sudden turn? Why betray Palpatine now, after all this time?
Vader is silent for a moment, the hum of his respirator filling the space between them.
The Emperor took everything from me. My life, my freedom, even the people I loved. I will not let him do the same to Leia.
Then, there's something you should know. Leia, she isn't your only child. There's a boy, a pilot. He was at Scarif. He's strong in the Force, and he carries your blood. His name is Luke.
Vader's silence is heavy, and then he turns to look at Bail. A flicker of something. Hope, fear, regret, flashing behind his mask.
A son. I will see him.
With this alliance sealed, Vader agreed to let rebel troops be deployed aboard the Death Star, albeit in disguise with Imperial uniforms to prevent suspicion. With these reinforcements, Vader secures his grip over the Death Star and begins to transport it to Coruscant. But tensions remain high between these groups, especially with Vader and Obi-Wan.
Know that the only reason you live is because of how you raised my son.
And the only reason we are working with you now is because of our common enemy. But do not think for a moment we will let you keep this weapon.
The Death Star is too dangerous. Its very existence is a threat to the galaxy. We have to destroy it.
If we hope to end the Empire's reign, we must rid the galaxy of this weapon once and for all.
Destroy it. We have secured the Death Star from the Emperor's grasp. With it, we could force his hand, end this war, and bring stability. Destroying it would waste an advantage we may never have again.
Father, Luke is right. It nearly destroyed my homeworld. We must destroy it.
Vader's mask tilts towards Leia, his silence carrying an unspoken surprise, but then he sighs and nods his head. As they arrive at Coruscant, the pilots place the Death Star clearly before the population. Bail Organa broadcasts a message to the galaxy. His face appears on view screens across the city, standing beside an image of the Death Star as he plays the damning recording of Tarkin's plan to destroy Alderaan. The crowds react with horror as they stare at the monstrous weapon and realize how close billions of citizens were to being wiped out. They turn their attention to the Imperials, marching through the streets in protest, demanding Palpatine resign and decommission that weapon. But Palpatine is no longer there. Instead, he is on a shuttle that makes its way to the Death Star, supposedly to parley with them. He makes his way to a private meeting room where the Sith Lord, Bail, Obi-Wan, and his twins wait.
So, Lord Vader, you've gone and stolen my prized weapon. I had hoped you'd see reason and turn it to my use, but it seems you've outgrown your usefulness.
Your empire will fall today, Master. Do not make this more difficult than it already is.
Oh, I intend to savor this moment.
Without warning, Palpatine's hands crackle with lightning, striking Vader. Leia rushes forward, igniting her lightsaber to block the attack.
I see you've trained your apprentice well, but let's see how long she lasts.
He suddenly lunges over the table and thrusts his lightsaber, but Obi-Wan blocks it aside and then joins their side as Vader ignites his lightsaber. All around them, reports go wild in the comlinks as the Imperials and Rebels report that Palpatine's loyalists are trying to retake control of the station. Meanwhile, the Coruscant Defense Fleet begins deploying starfighters and transports. Luke prepares to join them, but Obi-Wan orders him back to his X-Wing to prevent more troops from boarding. As the three surround Palpatine, the Emperor responds with a surge of ferocity and lashes out at them. Obi-Wan and Leia block these attacks, while Vader thrusts his lightsaber forward. Palpatine sidesteps the attack and slams the lightsaber down. Leia moves up and blocks the attack. She squares her shoulders and unleashes a flurry of attacks mixed with Vader. Together, their dark energies flow through them, challenging Palpatine's control. But the Sith Lord snarls and unleashes a powerful shriek, letting the dark energies flow out with him. The less experienced Leia struggles to block this attack and covers her ears instead. Seeing an opening, Palpatine smiles and lashes out at her. But at the last second, Vader steps between them and takes the blow for her, feeling it slice through his side and leaving him stumbling to the ground. His armor sparks and shudders as Palpatine's blade slices through several circuits. Palpatine smiles and advances on them, but Obi-Wan steps forward and unleashes a flurry of attacks. His normally graceful movements are filled with aggression as he throws himself into the fight. This buys Leia some time to check on her father. Outside, Red Squadron flies in formation, fending off waves of enemy starfighters. Luke weaves through the chaos, heading into the thick of the fighting. He guns down multiple TIE fighters and even takes a few shuttles. The Red Squadron keeps close by and supports him. They advance in a V formation and cut a deep hole in the Imperial forces while other squadrons rally around them. Despite that, there are too many Imperial ships, and they soon begin to board the Death Star. With each ship that lands, dozens of soldiers stream out and begin swinging the battle in the favor of the Empire.
We're being overwhelmed. If we don't destroy the Death Star now, we'll lose everything.
Inside, Vader hesitates. Gripping his lightsaber, he tries to stand up, but drops to his knee and hisses in pain. He hears the desperation in his son's voice and hesitates further. He recalls when he first met Leia and how scared she seemed, despite her efforts to put on a brave face.
Very well. Do it.
Meanwhile, a shout above them causes Leia's head to snap up. Obi-Wan stumbles aside as Palpatine beats him back, but this only awakens the rage within her. Fueled by a surge of anger, she lunges at Palpatine. With the fires of youth and range on her side, she momentarily puts Palpatine on the back foot and slams him back. The Emperor laughs at the fight, feeling himself having to exert against Leia. She proves to be a far greater challenge than he expected, But as he blocks her attacks, the anger of Leia doesn't back down. Her anger doesn't come from a simple rage, but righteous fury by seeing her father and uncle struggling to hold their own. She reminds herself how close her planet was to destruction and lets out a snarl. With a final slash, she throws Palpatine back and breaks his defenses, striking him across the chest. The Emperor drops to the ground, a gash opening on his chest while he looks up weakly. As she prepares to finish him off, Obi-Wan grabs her arm.
We must leave now. Luke is already preparing to make his attack run.
They sling Vader over their shoulder and hurry out as enemies and friends alike all hurry to evacuate. No one pays them any heed as they move towards one shuttle. Bail Organa, who is already waiting for them, reaches the pilot's seat and flies off. As they and hundreds of other starships depart, Luke approaches the exhaust port and takes a deep breath. By now, the Force comes easy to him, and he allows it to guide him. With the flick of a button, the proton torpedoes are flying and disappear into the Death Star. A moment later, the entire station shudders as its reactor overloads and goes off in a brilliant display of fire. The X-Wing and Imperial shuttle fly side by side toward Coruscant. The destruction of the Death Star helps put the mob at ease, allowing Bail to take over in the Senate. The revelation of the battle station shatters trust in the Empire, and there are calls for serious reform. Bail steps in and starts by ending the costly war with the Rebel Alliance, stating that the conflict was what allowed corruption to thrive. Many rebels are granted amnesty and add their strength to the weakened Empire. Rather than take the title of Emperor, Bail instead begins the process of restoring democracy in the Empire. Seeing their leader fall, many Imperial loyalists flee the planet, but Vader leads the charge to hunt them down. However, he is now joined by his children as they begin to repair their relationship. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.